Hey, family, welcome to the Zero to Profits podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, let me be the first to say welcome. You are in the right place if you are a business owner looking to increase your cash flow, build a profitable business, and maybe even scale without constantly feeling like you're drowning. And if you've been rocking with me for a while, I just want to say welcome back. Part of it is y'all already know what I do here. I keep it real. I keep it practical. And I actually talk about real moves that take you from stuck to scaling. Now, let me ask you this. Are you making at least $250,000 in sales, but you struggle with cash flow? Maybe you feel like your business is growing, but your profits ain't. Are you working harder in your business, but you still feel like you're not making enough? If that is you, I understand that your cash flow is unpredictable. I even understand if you're bringing in the money, but that money is disappearing as fast as you make it. You may be working your tail off, and then at the end of the day, you still ain't seeing the kind of profit that makes you feel financially secure. I get it because I've been there. A few years ago, my business was doing well on paper. I mean, we were growing, revenue looked good, but every month I struggled with cash flow. I was making money on paper, but somehow I wasn't keeping it and I couldn't figure it out. But you want to know what I thought my first solution was going to be? And I even tried it. I worked harder. I sold more. I mean, I did this thing. I grinded. I'm talking about, man, I was grinding. I even considered getting a part-time job. And guess what? None of that works. You want to know what finally made the difference? I built a true advisory team. I got the right people in my corner who could basically see what I couldn't see and help me unlock an extra 6 figures in cash flow. If that sounds like you, then you need to watch this episode because this episode is going to change the way you see your business forever. Because I'm going to show you how to have the right advisors to help you unlock an extra $100,000 in cash flow without working more hours or even taking on more stress. By the end of this episode, you're going to get enough information to where you can start building your own team and you can start to see results over the next 30 to 90 days. In this episode, this is what I'm going to break down. First thing, I'm going to break down what an advisory team actually is, right? It ain't just going out and just getting people to just work in your business. That's not what this is. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how the right advisors can help you increase cash flow. I'm even going to talk, for number 3, I'm even going to talk about the exact type of advisors you need. I'm going to talk about when you need to bring them in, and I'm going to give you the simple KPIs to track to make sure that they're actually helping you in your business. So if you're tired of spinning your wheels and you're ready to make smarter moves, not harder moves, then stick with me because this is going to be one of the most important episodes you'll hear this year. Let's get to it. All righty. So let's start with a story that perfectly shows why having an advisory team is the secret weapon to success. And why trying to do it alone will keep you stuck. You see, I grew up a huge basketball fan. I mean, there was this one guy who made me watch basketball every time I saw him lace him up on the court. I mean, he gathered my full attention. And I might be telling my age on this one, but no, it wasn't Magic Johnson. It wasn't Magic Johnson and Showtime Lakers. I mean, they were good, but they wasn't my ultimate favorite. It really wasn't even Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics. I mean, to be honest with you, they were actually big to me. I mean, they weren't really all that. And don't get me started on the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys. I couldn't stand them dudes. It was none other than Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Yup, I said it. Let me put some respect on this man's name. It was the GOAT, the GOAT. It was the 6-time NBA champion, the 5-time MVP, the 10-time scoring leader. It was the man who made the Chicago Bulls a global powerhouse. He made the NBA, and honestly, the entire game of basketball. He made it he single-handedly, in my opinion, made basketball a fun sport to watch for me. But before the glory, before all of these, before all of the notoriety, before all of the, credit that he started to get, there was struggle. And here's what a lot of people forget. Michael Jordan played on some trash teams before he was a champion. Yeah, you heard me right. I mean, these dudes were bad, like seriously bad. I mean, like they were so bad, you could get floor level seats for $50 to watch them play. That cheap, right? But here's the thing. From 1984 to about 89, right? From 84 to about 89, Jordan was an absolute monster on the court. I mean, this dude put up insane numbers that dudes not even putting up today, right? Like not a lot of guys are putting up today. He led the league in scoring. He broke records left and right. I mean, the Bulls, I mean, he was so good. The Bulls offense back then was basically give the ball to Jordan, have him score 50, and then the other guys made sure that they had his Gatorade and his towel ready for him at halftime, and then they had to do the same thing again at the end of the game. I mean, think about it. Look at these, think about these numbers, right? In 86, he dropped 63 on Bird. He came back in 87, he dropped 61 on the entire Bad Boy Pistons. Then he came back in 88 and dropped another 59. Like, who does this? Right? I mean, they game plan for this dude. They even had Jordan rules and all this type of stuff, right? Dude was unguardable. And he played defense on the other side as well. Matter of fact, he was the first player in NBA history to win MVP and defensive MVP in the exact same season. 1988. Look it up. There's only been one other time or one other person that's done it since then. That's for all you LeBron fans, by the way. Now, but despite all of his greatness, you know what he couldn't do back then? He couldn't win championships. For 6 straight years, the Bulls kept losing in the playoffs. I mean, Jordan was carrying the team. He did his job. They just couldn't get past teams like the Pistons. They couldn't get past Bird. They just kept getting bounced, right? But then in 1989, everything changed. Let me tell you what happened. In 1989, they hired Phil Jackson and made him the head coach. And when Phil became the head coach, he didn't just say, hey, Mike, go give me some more points. Nah, that ain't how he worked. What he did was he saw what Mike couldn't see. He implemented a strategy. And then he put together one of the greatest Chicago Bulls teams ever assembled up to this point. And he didn't get them all from free agency. He developed them right. They were homegrown guys. Like, for instance, he developed Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen. These are two guys, Scottie Pippen, these are two guys who were drafted. They sat on the bench for a while. But when Phil Jackson became head coach, he developed those guys. And then he introduced the triangle offense, right? This offense was a system that allowed Jordan to basically trust his teammates. And it took a whole lot of pressure off of him. And guess what happened? The dude won 6 championships in 8 years. 6 of them. 6 of them. We count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them in 8 years. Matter of fact, he was so good during that time, he was able to take a whole season off and he won 3 in a row. Think about it. He won 3 in a row, took a season off, came back and had a half season of coming off of retirement, and then won 3 in a row again. The reason why this is important is because the moment Jordan stopped trying to do it all himself and he let the right coach and the team and the team got him, he went from being a star to help shape a dynasty. And that's exactly how an advisory team works in your business. All right, so a lot of you guys are out here running businesses and you're trying to be the 1988 version of Michael Jordan. I mean, you're putting up crazy effort. You're out here grinding, working 25/8 or 24/7 or however you want to say it. You're hustling. You're doing everything yourself. And you know what happens? You keep hitting the wall. You keep staying stuck. You can't break through. Just like Mike. I want to be like Mike. Well, you were doing exactly what Mike was doing at that time. He couldn't win. You want to know why he couldn't win? Because talent alone doesn't build a dynasty. You need the right strategy, you need the right coach, and you need the right team. Just like Jordan needed Phil Jackson, Scottie Pippen, and Horace Grant. He needed all those pieces with him on that court. You need the right advisors in your business. And here's the thing about advisors, right? They're supposed to help you see what you can't see. They need to help you work smarter, not harder. And as a result, when you have the right advisors, they help you break past those barriers instead of holding your business back. So if you've been stuck at the same revenue level, working your tail off and you still struggle with cash flow, let this be your wake-up call. Because it's time to stop trying to do this all yourself. It is time to build your championship team. your advisory team, so you can finally start winning at a higher level. Okay, first things first. What do I mean by advisors? Advisors are trusted experts who you bring into your business. The reason why they come in is because they help you solve problems, they help you optimize systems, and they help you make smarter financial moves. And I want to be clear, they're not employees, and they're not just mentors giving you general advice. They're supposed to be strategic partners who help you see what you can't see and guide you towards making better decisions. I want you to think about the most successful business owners you know. Do you think they're making $1 million decisions on their own? Not at all. They have people in their corner advising them. They advise them on money. They advise them on strategy. They advise them on operations. They advise them on growth. And the thing is, if you want to scale, you need the exact same thing. You need the exact same thing, right? So now that you get why advisors are game changers, let's talk about how they actually help you put an extra $100,000 of cash flow back into your business. And you will not even work more hours to get this done. So let's break it down. Okay, so let's talk about money because I know that's why you're here. How do advisors actually help you increase your cash flow by $100,000? So I'm gonna break it down into some simple game-changing ways. And I'm gonna start with this first point. This first point is an advisor should help you plug cash leaks. You may be losing thousands of dollars every month without even realizing it. So bringing in somebody like a CFO or a financial advisor, what they can do is they should be able to help you find hidden expenses, maybe even renegotiate contracts, and even just cut some wasteful spending. And as a result, you should be keeping more of what you earn. So now, I'm gonna tell you a real story of something that I've helped somebody do just to drive this point home. So a couple of years ago, I worked with a business owner. He was a tax client of mine. Let's call him Chris. Chris ran a small dental practice where he was doing about $700,000 a year in revenue. He had a solid patient base, and he was working nonstop. And I did his taxes every year for the last couple of years. And every time I started to ask him about his business, he just kind of shake his head. He's like, man, look, I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm making money, but at the end of the month, there's hardly anything left, right? And then every year I come to you, you tell me, man, I was profitable, but man, I just don't see it. Now, here's the thing. I had already knew what his problem was. He had cash leaks, but he didn't realize it. And the reason why he didn't realize it is because I said, I had to ask him this question. I said, well, Chris, when is the last time you had a CFO or even a financial advisor go through your books? And he just kind of cracked up a little bit. He was like, man, look, he said, man, I don't even think I can afford somebody to come in and do that. You see my numbers. I don't think I can afford anybody to come in and do that. So, I've just been handling all this type of stuff myself. And I said, well, okay, well, that's fine. You think you're being smart by keeping control of your finances. You think you're being efficient by doing this. I said, but here's what you don't realize. You're bleeding money in places that you never even look because you don't know to look at those places, right? So, or maybe you just don't have time. So that's another reason, right? So I said, look, let me come in, let me be a CFO advisor for you. I'm gonna make a project. It's just a simple project. You don't have to, you don't have to pay me monthly. We just do one project. Let me do a project to help you find hidden leaks in your finances. And then as I find those leaks, I'm gonna give you advice on how to increase your profitability. How does that sound? He said, cool, let's do it. We put together that project, and then I went to work. Yeah, when I went in there and did, put in the work to kind of investigate his money, I found $50,000 that he was letting slide. Here is where the money came from. So, first place, he was paying for all these different subscriptions and these different tools, these different services. And come to find out, he ain't touched some of that stuff in at least 2 years. So we cut that stuff out. The next thing we found was we started looking at, okay, let's look at who, all the people that you're paying, all the contractors that you're paying. He had a lot of contractors because he runs a small dental practice. So he had to have people come in and service his patients from time to time. But what we realized is some of the billing was off. Some of his team members were billing for hours that he never caught. Some of it was they weren't billing insurance for enough because there were some services that wasn't even being recorded. Some stuff that they was writing out that they thought it was supposed to be one rate, but it turns out to be another. Well, they were losing money out of that, right? And then the third thing we found is Chris himself was underpricing his services. His profit margins were way too low based on what he should be charging. Now, here's where it gets real. We cleaned those leaks up, and guess what we found out? Once he was able to, once we cleaned those leaks up, he started to free up an additional $50,000 for his business. And guess what happened after a little time? As he started to see this money come in, he ended up growing his business to where he ended up getting an extra $100,000 in extra cash flow, because as he kept improving his pricing, as he kept improving his efficiency, as he kept improving his expenditures, he now had extra funds to do marketing. And when he was doing his marketing, new patients are coming in. And when new patients are coming in and he's billing them with the new method, now he's having more money left over. So using that example, let me ask you this question. How much money are you losing every single month just because you don't have the right advisor looking at your numbers? If you don't have an advisor and you think doing it all yourself is the right answer, let me tell you something. Your business is leaking cash and you may not even know it. Part of it is you don't know where. You may not know where. You may not have time to even look at it. So maybe it's expenses you may have forgotten about. Maybe it's just bad pricing. Maybe it's a vendor that's charging you way too much. I'm going to tell you something. You may not realize this, but that's your money that's slipping out of your cracks, right? That's money that's literally sitting right there in your business. All you need is somebody to come in and help you get it back on track. That is why having a CFO or a financial advisor, in my opinion, is a non-negotiable if you're serious about building and scaling a business. Why is this important? It's important because the difference between a struggling business and a thriving business, it isn't just about making money. It's about keeping more money. So now, we just talked about plugging cash leaks, right? Those hidden expenses and all this other money that's draining out of your business. But I'm gonna tell you something. If you don't have the right advisor watching your numbers, you can be losing tens of thousands of dollars every year without realizing it. But now, there's another thing that you may want to look at. And I'm gonna ask you this question. What if the biggest leak in your business isn't an expense? What if the real problem in your business is that you're overpaying on taxes simply because nobody ever showed you how to keep more money legally? You see, most business owners treat taxes like an unavoidable expense. It's something that you just accept and you tend to just write a check for every year. Matter of fact, I even got some clients, when they first came to me, they were saying, hey, I normally just put 40% aside away, every month. And I just kind of just write the IRS a check every year. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. The truth is this, right? If you had the right tax strategy, you could be keeping tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in your business instead of just giving that money over to the IRS for free, right? So if you don't believe me, I'm going to give you a story about a business owner who was, this is kind of extreme, but he was unknowingly overpaying about $200,000 every single year until he brought me in to be a tax strategist to fix it. So let's just get into it. Okay, so I'm going to tell y'all a story about this business owner that I met at an Academy sports store a while back. I was actually there looking for some equipment, and the same guy, he was shopping for something else. But what happened was we both were in the checkout line waiting to check out. Now, it was around tax time, and he had overheard me talking to my wife. And what I was telling her is that earlier that day, I had ended up saving somebody over $100,000 in taxes that morning. And they were pretty happy about it, and I had made their day. But what intrigued that guy was they were actually in the same profession as him, right? So after I checked out, I was getting ready to walk out. He stopped me and he asked me if I had a few minutes to talk, and he proceeded to kind of tell me his situation. So he told me his name was Kevin, and he told me he ran a small family medical practice, so he's a doctor, but his business brought in over $1.5 million a year each year for the last 5 years. But what Kevin told me was he was despite all that income that he was bringing in, he was super stressed about tax season every year. Matter of fact, he was saying that on his last return that he filed, and this is back in 2022, he was saying that his CPA had told him that he owed $275,000 in taxes. And like every year, like clockwork, Kevin was like, man, I don't know enough about taxes. I don't really know, if these numbers are right. So I just kind of trust it. I just write the check because that's what, that's what he thought he was supposed to do. He had no idea there was a whole nother way to do this until the day we actually met. So now, when we met, I listened to him and I described, I listened to him describe his pain, right? He talked about how he owed taxes. He talked about his reason as to why he owed so much and everything. So I asked him, I said, hey, well, look, do you have a tax strategist? Do you have, or do you just have like a tax preparer? What is the purpose of your CPA? And he kind of looked at me confused. He was like, aren't they the same thing? And I was like, nah, not even close. I say, you see, what Kevin had in that CPA was basically he just had a highly paid tax preparer. Somebody who basically just plugged in the numbers and told him what he owed. He wasn't really doing anything for him, right? But see, what Kevin really needed is he needed a tax strategist. He needed somebody who was going to sit down with him during the year and help him understand strategies to legally reduce what he owed. Now, also what he also needed is somebody to sit with him before the end of the year to make sure that these strategies were implemented. So now, I'm going to tell y'all a key point. For those out there that, are now a little bit intrigued by this, you need a tax strategist to do two things. They need to meet with you during the year and then also before the year ends. So now, I invited Kevin to take part in my business and tax strategy discovery session. Now, these sessions they're not, I don't make them available to the public. I only invite people to do these, right? These sessions are where I sit down with you and I'll take a close look at your business and your taxes to find ways to not only just save you money, but then also look at ways that we can help your business run smoother. Now, my goal is when I do these sessions, I want to make sure I'm giving you clear and a simple plan that is tailored just for you. And basically at the end of the day, these steps or these strategies are going to basically help your business work better and eventually lower your tax bill. So now, while I'm doing that, I also talk to you about any problems you may be facing in your business. I give you advice on how to fix them. And I might even give you some real solutions on that, the things that you can implement now to where you can either do it yourself or you can have us handle it for you, right? And even if you have a CPA, you can take this stuff back to your CPA and say, hey, look, this is what Max said do. Let's just go ahead and do it, right? So Kevin took me up on the opportunity. I ended up working with him on the session. And as we went through the session, here's what I found. And let me kind of give y'all the details on this. Kevin made $1.5 million in sales in 2022. And this was 2023. We were kind of looking at this before the year ended. He looked like he was going to make about $1.8 million in 2023. So now, profit margins, outstanding. His profit margin is outstanding. He had a 60% profit margin in 2022, and it was most likely going to be the same in 2023. So now, given his net income after all his expenses, those profit margins easily put him in the 37% tax bracket every year. And Kevin's a single guy, so his taxable income at since it was like well over 500,000. I mean, that's a lot of money to pay. As a matter of fact, he owed, like you said, he owed $275,000 in 2022. So if he was going to continue doing the same exact thing he had always done, his 2023 tax bill looked like it was going to be about $330,000. That's a whole lot of money. For his level of income, the amount of taxes he had to pay was way, way too high. So now, here's some things. Here's some things that I realized. As I went through and kind of looked at his taxes, kind of looked at kind of how he was kind of running his business and just looking at a few things. So when it came to taxes, he was making some massive mistakes and he had no idea he was making them, right? So I got Kevin back into the office and I told him, I say, look, I got about 7 ways that we can immediately save on taxes right now. Now, the thing is, as I looked at those things and I came up with those 7 ideas, the great thing about him was he didn't have to spend a lot of money to actually get these things fixed. There was just a few shifts that he had to make. Okay, so as I went through Kevin's financials, I gave him a list of 7 immediate things that took him from being just another business owner to, just another business owner that paid too much in taxes. And I took him from, from that to now being a business owner who plays by a different set of rules. And the rules that I'm talking about are the rules that the wealthy people use. So like, for instance, here's some things that I advise. Like, one, I had to teach Kevin about shifting income, right? So moving his entity, because he had an entity that wasn't really structured. He was a PLLC, which was basically a self-employed LLC. And I told him, I says, hey, look, we need to shift that, from that to more of a corporation. Now, I know a lot of people talk about S corps and stuff like this. I'm just going to skip all that TikTok advice about S corps. You got to just be careful, right? So based on Kevin's income, the C corp actually made sense. So now, in addition to moving, the shifting the income, we also talked about moving the salaries from the LLC to the corporation, right? While in the corporation, there's a few big savings he was able to do. So when he was with his, regular LLC, he had a SEP IRA that I think it was already maxed out. So what we decided to do is say, look, move this thing to a corporation and then start a company sponsored 401k. With a proper 401k strategy, Kevin can now shelter more money and reduce his taxable income even further. Number 4, one of the things we talked about was in that same 401k, we need to implement profit sharing on that retirement plan. What that means is he's going to have even more tax-free contributions while setting up his business, not just for himself, but also he can use that as an incentive to reward and retain his key employees. My point is the IRS was getting less now, right? And Kevin was building future wealth at the same time. So it was really good. Point 5, another thing I told him to do. We discovered that his old accountant had completely ignored this deduction, right? And it was huge deduction. So Kevin owns a medical practice, right? So when you own a business, you get to basically take a deduction that's automatic. It's called depreciation. That if you have assets in your business or income producing assets, you are allowed to take depreciation on those things over a certain amount of time. Well, again, we noticed that his old accountant had completely ignored that and did not write off anything. We looked at all his old tax returns and everything and realized that just had been missed. So we had Kevin go tally up all of the value for all of his equipment, his computers, his desk, chairs, even like for the building that he was in, he had spent quite a bit of money, renovating that business. For 2022, we found $30,000 in missed deductions. Just for that 1 year. Now, once we found that, we said, hey, look, we're going to go have them go back. But just for that year, we found at least 30,000. Now, point number 6, another thing we told him to do is, okay, Kevin had wanted to start a real estate company to invest in real estate. I told him, I says, well, now that you have this additional cash, because obviously these deductions are going to give him a massive cash flow swing upwards. Right. So we said, okay, now that you have this cash flow swing and now you have this tax savings, go ahead and put that money, go buy some commercial properties. And yes, we know commercial properties are going to increase in value, right? We know that. And you're going to be able to get passive income. But from a tax standpoint, what this commercial property is going to be able to do for him is by having this LLC reported under this corporation, the depreciation that he'll get on this, just for having those rental properties, his depreciation is going to be over $100,000 for a year. And he gets to do that for the next 39 years if he decides to own that property, right? So, huge savings. Now, finally, I also told Kevin, I says, look, I know you got your CPA for tax prep and all this type of stuff. I said, but really what you need is you need somebody that's going to help you be an advisor to implement this plan. And also you're going to need somebody to come in annually to ensure these savings are fully utilized. I said, look, we're those people. We need to be those people. So go ahead and hire us to basically do all this stuff for you. And let's make sure that we can get you these savings. Make sense? Oh, what? Y'all thought I wasn't going to promote myself after giving them all these nuggets? Because the truth is, here's the truth. What I'm advising isn't a one-time strategy. I'm advising a system that needs to be managed, it needs to be adjusted, and it needs to be optimized year after year. Now, instead of guessing, If he brings us on, Kevin will have a dedicated team to make sure that he never overpays in taxes again. Now, here's the best part. Once I put those changes in place, he hired me. Once we put them in place, instead of Kevin owing $330,000, y'all, guess how much we dropped that bill? Kevin's tax bill dropped to just under $125,000. Let's do the math. $330,000 minus $125,000. That's $205,000 back into his business instantly. And guess what? If he continues to listen and follows my advice, these tax strategies will save him at least $200,000 every single year, guaranteed. As long as he's making the same or more income, these are guaranteed tax strategies that's going to have him cash flowing at least $200,000 or more. Now, crazy thing is, that's money that he was already making and he was giving it away unnecessarily. And you know what Kevin told me after he realized that? He couldn't believe he was writing those checks every year. He had no idea he could keep that money legally. That's the power of the right advisor. Let me ask you this. How much money are you sending to the IRS that you don't have to? Maybe it's not $200,000, but I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. Are you taking every deduction that you're entitled to? Are you even using the best tax structure for your business? Are you putting your money into tax advantage places before the IRS takes your cut? Listen, if you don't have a tax strategist in your corner, you're donating money to the IRS that you can legally keep. I saved Kevin $205,000 in 1 year just by having the right person on his advisory team. And that's why if you're making at least $250,000 a year, one of the smartest moves you can make is bringing in a tax strategist to help you keep more of what you earn. Now, let's talk about the 5 key advisors you need to have on your team to make sure that your business is maximizing every dollar. Now, when it comes to an advisory team, you might be wondering, who do I exactly need on my advisory team? And I'll agree with you. Let's face it. Not all advisors are created equal. But I will tell you this. If your business is doing between $250,000 and $1 million, there are at least 5 key advisors that you need to have in your corner. These are people that are designed to help you scale without stress. They're supposed to help you keep your profits high. And then also they're there to help you make sure that your business runs like a machine. So let's break them down. Now, I've already talked about the first 2, so I'm gonna just kind of give a quick recap over those again. And I'm gonna just kind of make sure to just kind of go right through them. So first one, CFO profit advisor, right? Now, before you say I'm not big enough to have a CFO, let me stop you. A CFO is not just for $1 billion companies. In fact, if your business is doing at least $250,000, this is when you need them the most. Because the sooner you can manage your numbers like $1 million company, the faster you'll become one. Now, tax strategist. The second advisor you need, non-negotiable, not a tax preparer. You need someone who you will pay to sit down with you throughout the year to build a strategy that reduces your tax bill. But then you need to see that person again before the year ends to make sure that those strategies have been implemented. That's simple, right? This is not a tax preparer. I just want to make sure I'm clear about that. Got it? Cool. Now, the next person you need, let's talk about operations. Because if you feel like your business is a mess behind the scenes, it's only a matter of time before it costs you time, money, and maybe even customers, right? So that's why the third advisor you need is an operations consultant. This is the person who makes sure that your business runs like a well-oiled machine. They're designed, 1, to help you create systems so you're not constantly putting out fires. 2, they help you streamline your processes so you can serve more customers without working more hours. 3, they also help you delegate and automate everything so you're not stuck doing everything by yourself. Because here's the truth. If you want to scale, you can't do it alone. And if you don't have somebody helping you in the business to build the right systems, you're either going to burn out or your business is going to collapse under your own weight. Having an operation consultant frees you up so you can focus on growing your business, not just running it. Okay, so let me tell you a quick story about Rebecca. Rebecca runs a successful digital company and she does marketing, and she does about $600,000 a year. She's had some great clients. She's had a solid reputation, and up to this point, she has plenty of work coming in. But let me tell you something. Behind the scenes, in the past, her business was a mess. How was her business a mess, right? So she's had projects that were constantly behind schedule. In the past, her team was overworked and overwhelmed. And Rebecca herself, she was stuck working like 70-hour weeks, and she was barely keeping up. I remember one day she told me she felt like her business is growing, but it was drowning. Like she was making way more money, but the more money she made, the less time she had, the more stress she had, and she couldn't really grow beyond this to where it got to a point where she almost thought about just kind of giving it up. And I'm like, yo, that's not what you need to do. I told her, I says, hey, look, Rebecca, you don't necessarily need more clients. What you need is a better system. So I introduced her to an operations consultant. And basically the reason why we did it is because I told her, I said, look, you need to find somebody who specializes in turning like your chaos into some order. And when she finally locked in with that person, within 90 days, here's some things that changed in her business. First thing they did was they came in and they streamlined her project management system. So every client deadline was met. And here's the thing, Rebecca didn't even have to be involved in every detail of that. They also automated some of her processes, and then they came up with standard operating procedures. So by doing that, they cut down a whole lot of wasted time and miscommunication. Then the last thing they did that at least I found impactful is they restructured her team. They made sure that the right people were in the right roles. So Rebecca didn't have to sit there and micromanage everybody. Now, after those 90 days, as she kept working, let me tell you what happened. Rebecca's work week went from 70 hours down to about 35 hours. Her profit margins increased by 20% without even having to add another client. Then Rebecca even had time, and then she started to have more energy to where she can focus on scaling her business the right way. In my opinion, that is the goal and the power of a great operations consultant. They take you from being overwhelmed and stuck to now you're efficient and scalable. So if you are somebody who are constantly putting out fires in your business or even at work, you work crazy hours and you feel like you're barely holding things together, you don't really need more hustle. What you need is you need a better system. And that's exactly what the right operation consultant can do for you. Okay, so now let's talk about money coming in the door. Here's a key point, and I want to make sure you write this down. Remember this. This is very, very big. Every business needs this, but most business owners struggle with this. This is what I call sales and marketing. Here's why sales and marketing is important, right? If you have a business and your sales pipeline is not full, it don't matter how great your business is. It don't matter how good your product is. It don't matter how good your service is. If you have a restaurant, it don't even matter how good your food is. You're always going to struggle with cash flow if you don't have a sales pipeline. And for that point and that reason, that is why you need a sales and marketing advisor. Make sense? Now, I see this all the time, right? You might be a business owner doing 300,000, maybe $500,000 a year. Maybe you're doing $1 million a year and you're just way too busy serving clients to focus on marketing. But then one day something happens. You tend to wake up and you realize your pipeline is empty. Your revenue starts dropping and now you're in panic mode and you're scrambling to find new clients. That is the wrong time to try to be finding clients when you're in panic mode. Why is that? Because the thing is, if you've never had a real sales and marketing system, you're now coming across as desperate, right? So if you're running a business, listen, I want you to make sure you understand this. If you're running a business, you can't afford to just wing it when it comes to getting new clients. You need a sales and marketing advisor. Okay, so when it comes to a sales and marketing advisor, if you're trying to grow, you need someone who knows how to attract the right clients to keep your sales pipeline full, right? These are people that will help you get clear on like your best-selling offers, right? So you're focused on attaining or attracting the most profitable clients. They also are good to help you build a consistent lead generation system, right? So you never have to worry about where your next sale is going to come from. Then last but not least, they're also there to help you improve your closing process. So you're converting more leads into paying clients. Now, I'm going to tell y'all what's going on. The reason why you can't scale is because too many business owners, and you might be included in this, right? Most of us says, okay, well, look, I don't feel like paying all these people. I can cut costs. I can cut expenses. I want to just make my money. But they try to figure out this sales and marketing on their own, and that's why they struggle. So here's the thing. You might be good at the thing that you're in business for, but when have you had an expert guiding your strategy? I can tell you like this. If you ever consider bringing somebody in that's skilled in this area, your revenue will become predictable. Let me tell you a story about a business owner who was able to have her income increase from $350,000 to over $600,000 per year by using a sales and marketing advisor. Now, here's a client of mine. Her name is Jennifer. She ran a childcare consulting firm that was doing about $350,000 a year back in 2022. And this is coming into 2023. I mean, this lady was great at what she did, and her clients loved her. But Jennifer had a problem. She didn't have a marketing strategy. She was completely relying on referrals. Her revenue was so unpredictable. Some months she was thriving, and then those other months she was barely covering expenses. Now, one day she came into the office. We were actually looking at her financials, and I'm like, hey, you gotta start looking at this because you got some cash flow issues, right? Jennifer went into full panic mode and said, hey, look, my referrals are slowed down. I don't know how to get new clients. I feel like I'm constantly starting over, and I'm tired of chasing business. Just like another example, she was considering selling the business because it was so much work for her, right? Now, here's the thing. It wasn't an issue of cash flow at the time, and it wasn't even a pricing problem when it came to Jennifer. She had a marketing and sales problem. So what I told Jennifer is I said, hey, look, you need to get somebody that can help you with your sales and marketing. Somebody that can help you build a system to bring in consistent clients and predictable revenue, right? So Jennifer went on the search. She followed my advice. She found somebody that can help her out. And it took about 90 days. And here's what changed in 90 days with her, right? They built her a simple lead generation system. So instead of Jennifer waiting on referrals, Jennifer now has a process of attracting clients where she's getting at least 2 to 3 new leads every week. They also refined her messaging and positioning because they realized, hey, she was focusing on a bunch of bottom dollar clients to where now they got to focus on high value clients that actually need her service and they can actually pay for her service. In addition to that, what they also did was they also optimized her sales process. So instead of her hoping for sales, Jennifer now has a repeatable system that turns prospects into actual paying clients. Now, guess what happened after those 90 days? Or let's even say to the end of the year, coming into 2023, by the end of 2023, Jennifer went from $350,000 in 2022 to where by the time she finished 2023, she had almost $600,000 in revenue that year. And we looked at it, she didn't even have to work more hours. She stopped, what she did was she stopped chasing business and started attracting ideal clients who were willing to pay her premium prices. And a lot of that was because she had a predictable sales and marketing team. So when it came to Jennifer, when she got to her office, she didn't have to come in there being stressed. She didn't have to wonder where her next client came from. Make sense? Okay, so now let me ask you this. Does this sound familiar to you? Are you stuck relying on word of mouth for referrals to get new clients? Do you struggle bringing in consistent leads month after month? Are you frustrated at your business because your revenue feels unpredictable? If that is you, I'm going to tell you the hard truth. You don't have a sales problem. You have a marketing problem. And if you don't have anybody helping you with that, like a sales and marketing advisor guiding you, you're leaving money on the table every single month. Look, my client Jennifer, she transformed her business in about 90 days. You can too, but you got to get with it. You got to get active. You need a system, you need a strategy, and you need the right advisor in your corner. Okay, so we just talked about how a sales and marketing advisor can help you bring in more business, close more deals, and generate revenue. But here's the thing. Making money is only half the battle. The other half of that is actually protecting it. And nothing will drain your bank account faster than a legal mistake that you didn't see coming. And that's why you need a legal advisor on your team. Because here's the hard truth. If you don't have the right legal protections in place, one wrong move can wipe out your entire business. Okay, so when it comes to a legal advisor, let me ask you this question. Do you have solid contracts that actually protect you, or are you using a template that you found online? Do you even know what to do if a client refuses to pay you? Or are you just hoping that it never happens? Do you have a brand, a logo, or maybe some intellectual property? Do you have it trademarked? Or are you just leaving yourself open to theft, right? So, like, let's say you have this good idea, and you're putting it out there. Do you have protections on that stuff? And then, matter of fact, do you even have a business structure that's set up to help you protect your personal assets? Or better yet, if you got sued, could you risk everything that you own? A real point that I will tell you I see from time to time again. Most business owners don't think about these things until it's too late. And the worst part, it only takes one mistake to wreck everything that you've built. That is why a legal advisor is required. It is an essential part of your team, because the businesses that last, they aren't the ones that grow fast. They're the ones that are legally protected. Make sense? So now, having a legal advisor, here's just a few things that they help you do. One, they help you have airtight contracts that protect your business, not just services, but they also help you with your payments as well. They also help you set up the right business structure so your personal assets are protected from lawsuits, right? There's a lot of people out here that are sue happy. You want to make sure that whatever business structure you're operating in, it protects you from the business side and then your personal side. You want to make sure those things are separate, so if you get sued on the business side, you can still go home at night and have a roof over your head. Make sense? All right. Third thing they do is they help you secure trademarks and intellectual property so no one can steal your brand, your ideas, your logos, and any of that type of stuff, right? Fourth point, they help you stay compliant with business laws so you don't get hit with unexpected fines or penalties, right? This is not an accountant's problem. You need an attorney for this type of stuff, right? So now, last thing, you need a legal plan in place in case a client, a partner, or a vendor tries to come for you, right? Again, like I just said, there's a lot of people out here that are sue happy, and there's a lot of people out here that think they know the law and they think they know their way around the law, so they'll try to play games with you. So you want to make sure that you have a legal plan in place that can protect you as you're out here trying to do the right things in business. So now, let's be real. When it comes to the law and when it comes to legal matters, it's not a matter of if you'll need legal protection, it's a matter of when. And the thing is, you don't want to get caught not having this when that time comes, right? You want to make sure that you already have one in your corner. Make sense? Okay, so let me tell you about Jason. He's a business owner that learned this lesson the hard way. Jason ran a very successful e-commerce brand. I mean, he had Shopify, he had the eBay, he had all this stuff, right? And things were going great until one day he got hit with a $50,000 lawsuit from a disgruntled customer. The issue, there was a contract that Jason gave this person, and it was vague, and man, it was absolutely written poorly. And it left him wide open for liability. Jason's problem was, rather than hire a lawyer up front, he looked at his bank account and says, well, you know what, I'm trying to start the business, but I ain't got this, this much money. So rather than me hiring a lawyer and paying these fees, he listened to some advice on social media about saying, hey, look, I don't need to pay all this money from these lawyers. I can just go online and get one of these little easy contract templates to just handle this, right? And he figured he was smart by saving the money up front. Now, while it felt like Jason didn't do anything wrong, the issue is he didn't have the right legal protections in place. So he had to spend months in court, thousands in legal fees, and he had more stress than he ever imagined. I mean, so much so that he almost thought about, like, you know what, I'm just going to shut my business down type of stress, right? And you know what he realized during this whole process? When I talked to him, he was like, man, I wish I had my lawyer on my team before this happened, right? It would have saved me thousands and so much stress. This is why I say a legal advisor, and I know, sometimes lawyers, they cost a little bit, right? But I'm going to tell you something. Having a legal advisor on your team is not an expense. It's an investment. And the reason why it's an investment is because you're protecting everything that you've built. Make sense? So now, let me ask you real quick. Are you legally protected? If not, you need to get so. Do you have ironclad contracts that protect you? Do you have a trademark on your brand or intellectual property? Is your business structure set up correctly to protect your personal assets? Do you have a legal advisor to where if you have legal issues or legal questions, you can call on one when you need them? If that answer is no, then your business, your hard-earned money, all that stuff is at risk. Because I'm going to tell you something. The difference between businesses that last and businesses that fail, again, it's not just about making money. It's about keeping that money safe. Make sense? Okay, so I've talked about the 5 different advisors that you need in your business. And you might be thinking, okay, this sounds great, man, but when should I actually bring in these advisors? I'm going to give you my simple rule. If you want to build a profitable, a scalable, and a protected business, you need to hire advisors before you really need them. This is why I say that. You will spend less time fixing problems and more time making money if you hire them before you need them. And to the regular business owner who isn't growth focused, it don't make any sense. But I can tell you, as somebody who's been through this and somebody who has grown their business from $300 to have made, a couple of million, I can tell you right now, the issue that business owners are having today, typically business owners wait way too long. They think they need to be at $1 million before they get a CFO or tax strategist. But the reality of that, I'm going to tell you something. The earlier you get these people in, the faster you grow and the more profitable you become. And it's also cheaper to get them in early while you're small versus waiting until you hit those millions, because then it's expensive, because now they got so much stuff to unpack, so much stuff to kind of uncover, so many mistakes that they got to go fix. But if you get them early and you get them on retainers early, then they can grow with you as you go, right? So the earlier you get these people in, the faster you will grow and the more profitable you'll become. If you're feeling like you're stretched too thin, you're stuck into like a cash flow crunch, or even if you're just unsure about how to take your business to the next level, this is a sign that you probably need somebody. Make sense? Now, hiring advisors up front isn't just a smart thing to do. It's a profit-driving strategy that can save you time, money, and headaches. And I get it, right? Some of you guys may say, well, I don't know if I can afford these people. I don't know, man, if I even need them like that. I don't even know if I even need that. I don't even know if I had that much type of work. But I'm going to tell you something. Most business owners know where they want to go, but they don't know how to get there. And that's what that advisor can help you do, right? Some of you guys haven't even started yet, and you feel stuck on what to do first. But that advisor that you can bring in, invest in them, because that may make all the difference, right? Because instead of you trying to figure out things the hard way, you can have an advisor to come in and give you a clear strategic pathway to your goals. And they can hold you accountable to that. No matter where you are, they can help you get to that point that you're trying to get to. Okay, so now you know when to bring an advisor into your business, right? Again, I'm going to say it again, before you really need them. But here's something just as important. How do you know if your advisors are actually helping you? How do you measure their impact on your business? And how do you make sure you're getting a return on your investment, right? Because again, if you're bringing them in before you really need them, it's an investment, not an expense at this point, right? So now, just understand this. Just hiring an advisor isn't enough, right? You want to make sure to track their performance, just like they're keeping you accountable. You need to keep them accountable, right? So we're going to tie it back to the financials. Just like you track their performance, you want to track your revenue and expenses. This is what I call KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. This is where all of that stuff comes in. These are the numbers that tell you whether or not your advisors are moving your business forward. So what I'm going to do is we're going to break out the 5 simple KPIs that you can use, 5 of them. You can use these to track to make sure your advisory team is actually delivering results. Okay, so now you've made the smart move to bring some advisors in. You got a CFO watching your numbers. You got a tax strategist helping you keep more of your money away from the IRS. You got a sales and marketing advisor that's helping you bring in clients. You got an operations consultant helping you make sure your things, your business runs smoothly. And now you got a lawyer who's protecting everything that you built. All that's great. But like I said, an advisory team isn't just enough, right? We want to make sure that you're tracking real, measurable results to make sure that they're actually moving your business forward. And again, we talked about this. This is where KPIs come in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the 5 numbers without a shadow of a doubt that if your advisory team is moving your business forward, you should be able to see this in these numbers, right? So KPI number 1, cash flow increase. First up, it's the most important number in your business, cash flow. If your CFO or profit advisor is doing their job, you should be seeing an increase in available cash every month. Point blank, period. What does this mean? This means that you have more money in your bank account. You have faster payments from clients. You have fewer unexpected financial shortfalls. Now, how do we track this? What we need to do is we need to look at monthly or even weekly cash flow trends, right? Is your cash position improving? Like, does your bank statement at the end of the month look like the next month? Do you see an increase on that, right? Now, if you're selling on credit, what we need to look at is we need to look at days sales outstanding. Are you getting paid faster, right? Maybe in the past it took you 30, 60, 90 days to get paid. Maybe now when you get this new advisor in, maybe they're getting you paid in 7 or 14 days, right? But how do we know that? Well, we got to use the daily sales outstanding to track that. Now, next thing we want to look at is operating cash flow margin. Are you keeping more of every dollar you make? So what that means is if you're bringing in $1 million in sales and your gross profit margin is, at a certain percentage, how much of that gross profit margin are you actually keeping? What is your overhead? We want to make sure we're keeping more of every dollar that we make. So, because let's be real, if your cash flow isn't improving, your advisors simply aren't doing their job. And maybe it's time to go find somebody else. Make sense? Okay, so let's talk about profit margins. That's the second KPI. Profitability, right? And here's the thing about profitability. The most important thing about it is revenue means nothing if you're not keeping any of it, right? So let's go back to the CFO, or even if you're operations consultant, right? You can kind of look at them and says, hey, look, if they're worth their fee, you want to make sure that your profit margins are increasing. So there's 3 that you want to look at. First one, gross profit margin. What that is are you making money after your direct costs? So like, for instance, let's pick on like if you're a restaurant. If you are a restaurant, you're bringing in sales, your direct costs are what we call labor, which is the people that work for you, food costs, and then waste, right? If you track those 3 things, and let's say, hey, you're bringing in, $100,000 this month, and your direct costs are $50,000, right? And that means that your gross profit margin would be 50% or 50,000 left over, right? So 100,000 in sales, direct costs of 50,000, which means now you have 50,000 left over. So that means your gross profit margin is 50,000 divided by 100, 50%. So are you making more money after direct costs? If you're bringing in somebody, a CFO or an operations consultant, and they take that 50 to 51% or 50 to 52% or 50 to 60, 50 to 60%, then obviously you're making more money after direct costs. Next thing, net profit margin. What we want to look at here is now you have the gross profit number. We got overhead. What's left is what we call net profit, right? We want to take that number divided by sales to figure out, okay, what's our net profit margin? After your overhead expenses, how much are you actually keeping for yourself? Because net profit, that's what's going into your pocket, right? So if they're able to take that number from a certain number and they're increasing that, then hey, they're doing their job. You need to hold on to those folks. Let them keep you going. Last thing, what we want to look at is we want to look at profit per customer, or maybe profit per employee, or profit per client, right? So what this looks at is, like, for instance, if you're in a service business, like let's say if you are a consultant, right? And you don't have a whole lot of customers, you may have clients who just kind of pay you based on projects. Well, let's look at this and says, okay, well, look, are we working with the right clients? Are you spinning your wheels, right? So we want to look at those things to make sure that we're working with the right people. So now, here's the thing. If your revenue is growing, but your profit margin is shrinking, then something is off. And that's a red flag that your advisor should be looking at and fixing ASAP. Okay, KPI number 3, revenue per employee. Or if you're working by yourself, let's look at revenue per hour. Now, this is a big one, especially if you're growing your team and you're trying to scale without working yourself into the ground. This is why it's big. If you're tracking revenue per employee, you want to know how efficient your business is running. So, for instance, this is how you hold your operations consultant, your CFO, and even your sales and marketing advisor. This is how you hold them accountable. If they're doing their job, these numbers should be going up, because you're optimizing expenses and pricing. And here's the thing, because if you can make more money and you have more employees, that means that if you're making more money and your workload decreases, your personal workload decreases, meaning like you have more employees, then that's a sign that you have the right systems in place. And that also those are signs that these people are doing their job. these are also signs that you're getting more output from your team, right? So now, if it's in reverse, meaning like you're making more money, but your personal workload is increasing, then that's a sign that you don't have the right systems in place, right? So these are things that you can start looking at to kind of hold these three groups of people accountable. Okay, KPI number 4, we want to look at tax savings. So now listen, if you're making over $250,000 a year in your business and your tax strategist isn't saving you money, then they're not doing their job. Here's what you should be tracking. First thing is, we want to look at your total tax liability year by year, right? Maybe even look at it for the last 3 years. If your sales are going up and your tax bill is going up, okay, but we want to look at the percentage, right? Is that overall tax bill percentage decreasing? And the way we look at that is we look at the effective tax rate, meaning that are you legally paying the lowest percentage possible, right? If you are, then you're good. But here's the thing, on reverse, if your income is going up, if your income's not going up, but your tax bill is going up, then yeah, you need to basically hold that tax strategist accountable, right? So now, next one, tax advantage investments. Are you putting your money in places where it grows tax-free? And I have to caution on this one, right? Because a lot of people tend to think that tax planning is simply just putting money into a retirement account and just letting it sit. Well, that's lazy. That's lazy. That's lazy accounting, right? Or that's lazy tax planning. Sometimes, putting money into like a SEP or putting money into an IRA may be the last thing that you need to be doing, right? Sometimes maybe what you need to be doing is saying, hey, look, it may be more advantageous to say, hey, let's take this money, this money that we have, and let's put it into a real estate investment, because we need to also draw some passive income, right? So a good tax strategist will be able to tell you, based on your individual situation, is what are good places you can put your money so they can grow tax-free, right? So now let's be clear. If you're not tracking your tax savings, you're probably leaving thousands or even hundred thousands on the table. Make sense? Okay, KPI number 5. And this one, I kind of think it's the most important for a business owner, right? This is the KPI that most business owners overlook, but it really is, again, it's one of the most important ones. And that's time, right? What we want to do is we want to track how many hours per week are you working. If you're still stuck into the day-to-day, roles, and you're responsible for making CEO level decisions, then you need to look at the advisory team you have on board, right? You want to make sure that your advisory team is helping you create systems so you can focus on growth and not being stuck into the day-to-day rut, right? Because the truth is here, if you hired all these advisors and you're still stressed, you're still overworked, and you're still making the same decisions you were a year ago, something isn't working. It could be them or it could be you. But I'll tell you this, the whole point of bringing an advisory team on board is to give you, 1, more time to think strategically. 2, it's supposed to give you more time to focus on growth. And then 3, it's supposed to give you more time to enjoy the success that you're actually building, right? If that's not happening, then you got to hold those folks accountable and it's time to reevaluate. Make sense? So, okay, we just covered game-changing strategies for taking your business from stuck to scaling. And it all comes down to building the right advisory team. So let's just do a real quick recap of everything that we covered. So we started with a simple truth, right? You can't do it all alone. My greatest example, Michael Jordan. He was great, but he didn't start winning championships until Phil Jackson and Scottie Pippen joined the team, right? And in business, it's the exact same thing. You need the right advisors. You need the right team that can help you. Because here's the thing, business isn't just about hustling harder. It's about playing the game the right way. Now, we also talked about 2 big ways an advisory team can increase your cash flow. Very first one, plugging cash leaks. I shared the story about how, me as an advisor, I was able to help, a client save, $50,000 in waste expenses for, just by reviewing our finances. Then the next one is tax savings, right? I even shared a story about how I was able to, help a business owner stop overpaying $200,000 in taxes every single year. And that's simply because they didn't have a tax strategy, tax strategists on the team. Now, after those 2 things, I also talked about, breaking down, I even explained to you that the 5 must-have advisors that you need to have if you want to scale past $250,000 in your business. If you're missing any one of those advisors, you're leaving money and probably security on the table. Now, We also talked about the perfect time to bring those advisors in. And again, I'm gonna tell you now, the best time is now. Hire them now. Hire them before you really need them. It's cheaper to pay up front for these people than to pay later. Most business owners wait way too long to hire advisors. And the thing is, the truth is, the sooner you bring them in, the faster you grow. So lastly, we discussed that hiring an advisor isn't enough. You need to track their actual results, right? One, for your records and for proof. And then two, you want to see the proof that, okay, this stuff actually works, that they're giving you. So I gave you 5 KPIs to tell you if your advisor is actually making a difference. And here's the takeaway from it. If you're not seeing those improvement in those numbers, then the advisor team that you have just in doing their job, and it's time for a new group to come in. Make sense? So here's the deal. If you're serious about scaling your business, you need an advisory team, not just employees, not just mentors. You need actual experts who can help you make, keep, and protect your money. And if you're missing these key advisors, then right now it's time to fix that, because being a business owner isn't just about working harder. It's about making smarter moves with the right people in your corner. Alrighty, so we just spent a lot of time breaking down exactly why you need an advisory team. We want them to help you scale. I want them to help you increase your cash flow. And I definitely want them to help you keep more of what you earn. But I'm gonna ask you a serious question before we end this podcast. Do you actually have the right advisors in place? Where are you trying to go with your business? Do you have a CFO that's helping you track cash flow? Do you have a tax strategist that's helping you save, thousands of dollars? Do you even have an operations consultant helping making sure your business runs without you? Do you have a sales and marketing advisor that helps you bring in leads or predictable revenue? Do you have a legal advisor who helps you protect your business and assets? I'm going to tell you something. If you don't have any one of those, you're leaving money on the table, or worse, you're exposing yourself to financial risk. Point blank, period. Now, this is where I can help you. If you want to bring me in, somebody like me in as a business coach or a CFO, I can help you. I can help you build a rock solid advisory team that can help you scale the right way. I'm really good at finding hidden cash leaks. I can help you optimize taxes, and I can help you increase your profits. Now, here's my offer to you. I'm not trying to sell you anything right now. All I want you to do is, if this is a topic that intrigues you, this is a topic you want to learn more about, then just do one thing. Just book a free 15-minute strategy session with me. What we'll do in those 15 minutes is, let's just see if we're a good fit together, right? Now, if the 15-minute strategy session, what we'll do is we'll see if you qualify for that, business and tax strategy session, right? So if you are interested in having this strategy session with me, the 15-minute call, go to www.mac-read.com to book your free strategy session right now. And I'm going to tell you something. The businesses that want to grow, they're the ones that just work harder. They're the ones that make smarter moves. And the first smart move is getting the right team behind you. So go to my link, go to my website, book the strategy session. Go ahead and book it right now. All right, that's it. If you're enjoying the Zero to Profits podcast and you found value in today's episode, please please subscribe, please hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our future content. And I want to hear more about the topics that matter to you guys as a business owner the most. Please, the way to do that is leave a comment, ask me some questions. Your feedback, it helps me shape future episodes. So let me know what you want to hear about next. Thank you so much for tuning into the Zero to Profits podcast. Let's keep growing and scaling together. Until then, it's coming.